Welcome to the Dougherty County Board of Commissioners meeting with your chairman, Christopher S. Cohilas. Your commissioners include, from District 1, Commissioner Ed
Yes,
Newsom.
I did. Thank you.
From District 2, Commissioner Victor Edwards. From District 3, Commissioner Clinton Johnson. From District 4, Commissioner Russell Gray. From District 5, Commissioner Gloria Gaines. And from District 6, Commissioner Anthony Jones. Also joining us is your County Administrator, Michael McCoy, Assistant County Administrator, Scott Addison, County Clerk, Juwan Ware, and County Attorney, Spencer Lee. Thank you for joining your Dougherty County Commission meeting.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. All right. Go ahead and call to order the Dougherty County Work Session for August 9th, 2021. I'll begin with a roll call and note that all commissioners, with the exception of Commissioner Gaines, are present in person. Commissioner Gaines, are you on the phone?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner
Gaines.
All right, very well. Let's move on with the public hearing for the proposed tax increase of 0.35% for the countywide digest and the proposed tax increase of 0.30% for the special services digest. The millage rates remain the same as last year. The countywide millage rate is 15.569 and the special services millage rate is 9.1730. We have presented at the back a public hearing sign-up sheet, and we have had one citizen that has signed up. That is Mr. Wright on behalf of Afram Tech, Inc. Mr. Wright.
First of all, bid you greetings, and we will come back to you at least on next Monday. But for today, one of the things we wanted to straighten out, as you know, I have been a public education teacher for higher education for about 29 years, and middle school and high school for another 6, teaching in 6 areas. But when I went to teach for the University of Georgia, I was hired to teach economics. In addition, I serve on the inflation panel, which is a panel set up by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System in Atlanta, the 3rd largest Federal Reserve Bank in the country. And I've been on that panel basically since President Obama. That is, I teach economics. I live it every day, just like most of you. I've given you a handout that details. Someone asserted there was inflation. Well, if you look on page 3 and 4 of a handout, that seems to be a lie. There are 2 areas of economics we have to understand. First of all, you have macro, which is the broad picture, and micro, which is looking at the individual, how he or she is impacted. So we're not sure which one you were certain had happened, but the numbers do not support that. For instance, if you look on page 4 of your handout, we've taken your FY 2022 budget. Look where the arrow is, and it shows the real truth is that you're getting $9,000 per meal more than you did in 2021. That's what it means. That money, $135,000, need to go back to the people, because that's who you're taking it from every day. And if you had not done some of the things that was borderline ridiculous, we wouldn't be in this predicament to scramble for $150,000. For example, Ms. Van Drake came here and said, "Hello, fellas, we're going to do this." Now, you ask Ms. Hinder or anybody else, if anybody can take, we're going to do, take to the bank and see what they give you a credit slip. Because that's what they did. They hadn't done anything, then come and say, we're going to do this, you give them $100,000. Well, that's what $135,000 is. That $100,000 equates to $8,500 a month that you're just throwing away. It's not that, well, look at the report card that you got from the Wall Street Journal. We are number 5 in the 25 fastest shrinking cities and counties in America. That's a report card that all these people that you just dole out money to with no accountability. See, it would be different if there was accountability. What does that mean? All these boards like the Chamber and Chief Hall, strong teachers, they come here and say, well, give us, we're going to. Take that to the bank. Ask Ms. Henry if Bank of America will give him a credit slip, but we're going to. That report card by the Wall Street Journal said they're not doing anything that's keeping people here because we lost 12,000 people. Now, if you were doing a good job, or if you had a business, that would not be the case. $9,000 more per meal is what you're getting, and you want to keep it because you dole out $6 million to the sheriff and emergency services. And again, there's no accountability. What we're saying here, you need to understand, just because someone comes here does not mean they do not have a need. Well, so does everyone else. Everyone else have a need, and they make a case, whether it's compelled or not, is up to you to use intelligence to see if that makes sense. Can we bank? We're going to. I can answer that for you. You know, being in the classroom 35 years, I believe I can answer that. No. But we constantly dole out money to organizations, and by the way, none of them are African American or black, and this community is 80% African American black, and we don't give them anything. In other words, a pandemic is every day in the African American or black community. All these organizations you give money to, none of them have a chairperson that's African American or black to do anything with. And then you wonder why there's so much poverty and unemployment and all these other disarrays in our community. So again, now what I want you to do is look at page 3. See, I work for Firestone, and Firestone had 6,200 employees. I was the chief of the union. I know as much about inflation as anyone because our contract required that Firestone pay us every time the CPI changed 0.2%, we got a 25 cents an hour increase. In 1985, we were making $15 an hour then. When the federal government decided to approach the issue of $15 minimum wage as a general wage increase for our cost of living, we were getting that, 30 years ago. But still, when you look at that number, it was driven by the fact that we had a contract that every time the CPI changed, 0.2 now. If it 1/10 or less, we did not get anything. So we've dealt with this so much, but if you look at it on page 3, it shows that that's not even a 2% increase. How in the world can we come over here and say inflation has driven something when this is from the federal government? Anytime inflation comes up, it's not we said or he said that determines that. The United States Department of Labor, BLS, is the only organization chartered with that responsibility. And this number on page 3 shows it has not even risen 2%. We get $9,000 more a meal, and we want to keep that because we dole out money and could be characterized as an irresponsible way. To just dole out some money because Ms. Van Dyke said, we need this, we're going to do this. The chamber does not have that part of the money, but yet we've been doling out $250,000 of them over the 10 years. They've only had, when we look at the EDC, one black employee in 35 years. You know, there's something wrong with this picture. But anyway, look on now. Look at that. Look at these numbers. You can see that according to the United States Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this was dated Saturday, by the way, when I pulled this. Ladies and gentlemen, I teach this. I live it just like you and I, but sometimes we may not be able to characterize it or put it in its true context. But this document suggests it's not inflation, it's just that you want to keep the money. That's the long and short of it. The question is not whether you deserve it, but the question is, should you give it back to the people who are in a pandemic every day? It should be yes, but you'd rather do this. So we point that out. If you look with me on page 3, that's on the front page, by the way. That gives you what you need to understand this. And on page 4, we have an arrow to show if you cannot see that has $9,000 or more coming to Dougherty County Commission, just like it will all of the other entities, depending upon what their millage rate is. But you are getting borderline to being milled out. The state will only allow you to go to 20 mills. So you're only 4.5 mills away. Now you can let people come down here and talk crazy to you if you want to and say, well, go up another 33%, but that, you need to be real cautious about even looking at that. 20% is the most you can go. The school board is already borderline 19%. The city is the only one that's in a safe zone because their millage is 9 mills. Of course, they have a lot more money, as my grandfather used to say, to chunk away, if you will. So, if you look on page 2, it points out the source of this. What is the current U.S. inflation rate? Keep in mind, when you look at the numbers on page 3, what that simply means is you look at the chart on the left. The United States Department of Labor, every month, they go and look at 30 items that an average household could go and buy from anywhere in the country. It may be bread, it may be gas, it may be milk, what the cost of their credit card. They take these 30 items and toss them up, and then they come up with, from that formula, that determines what we call the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, how much it has changed. But the short and long of it is, Commissioners, is when you have changing prices and you have more dollars chasing goods and services, that is really what constitutes a determinant of inflation. You have to have more money chasing fewer goods and services that could be purchased, and many times the retailers and others will go and hire extra people to come and meet that demand, although this demand may be short meals. So that's what creates the mess we're in. When you have more money, and some of this money could be there because when the United States Department of Labor decided to give us an extra $600 a month for unemployment benefits, people went and bought up everything. You could go to most stores, and a lot of times that shelves were empty. So that's what drives some of this stuff, when you have more money and the shelves are empty. And then the stores go and buy more, the manufacturers go and produce more, and it just creates a mess for all of us in the short run. It's sort of like, if you will, you notice they're in the port of Savannah. They're having a problem there because you remember this ship, the Golden Ray? The Golden Ray had 42 Nissans on it. 4,200 Nissans. That drives the price up because they capsize. My point about those Nissans is that every time you sell a foreign-built car, it takes 7 jobs out of the United States economy. 7. So multiply 4,200 times 7 and see what it is. 28, 30,000 jobs lost. And we just buy them and buy and do not understand why our jobs are decreasing. It's because we trigger it because of how we purchase. So, and that's essentially what you look at the model that Dougherty County Commission has. That's another thing you need to look at when we think about whether or not you need to keep the $150,000 or whether it needs to be rolled back. Now we're going to come to you this afternoon and show you how you could roll that back and still end up having the same amount of money if you are not clueless and understand what we're saying. Because this issue about inflation has come across my desk 4 times by this time, from going from January the bank in Atlanta sent us, who are members of the inflation panel, all these things, those 30 or so goods that I tell you that the Bureau of Labor says to go and shop for, they send us that via the web, and then we have to respond. That as a panel member have to respond and try to help keep inflation in check. Well, that's what we do. On the federal level, we work to keep the inflation rate as low as possible. And that's what Dougherty County needs to be doing, and you can best do that, we would suggest. Give the $150,000 back, and then you need to begin to do several things. But we're going to put that in writing for your meeting this afternoon. Now, you have the handout, just like the city and just like school board. You do what you want to with it. You put it in file 13 or 20 or wherever you want to put it. But you cannot say you did not get the information because we brought it to you. And you look at the corroboration sources for that, it tells you. We describe how it's supposed to be done, and you have to put some accountability or some checkpoints on how you dole one out, whether it's a sheriff or EMS or whoever come here. Everyone can make a need, but whether or not that need is justified is a real issue. We're going to show you that when we deal with comparison of Dougherty County with Chatham County. You're going to see some startling things there. So we'll stop at this point. And again, now, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Gaines, we're not going to promise you coming back this afternoon, but we will come back next Monday because, see, you're not giving us the $300 an hour like you're giving the big wheels from Atlanta. We're not going to be coming down here and not getting the $300 an hour. Now, you give them $300 an hour to do bookkeeping that I've been teaching for 35 years. You can come up with half of that for us, but you do what you want to do. We'll see if there are any questions. You have the handout.
Huh? It's public. Yes, this is a public hearing, so thank you very much, Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item. Minutes. Minutes of the July 19th regular meeting and July 26th work session. Any comments, questions, or discussion? There being none, let's move on. Delegations is where the commission will hear comments of those items pertaining to Dougherty County for which a public hearing has not been held or scheduled. We ask everyone to be brief to the point, considerate of time for others. And our first delegation is Walter Kelly, Library Board of Trustees Chairman, who is present to introduce Gail Evans as the new library director. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman,
Good morning.
and Commissioners, and Ms. Gaines, and Mr. Boyd, Mr. Lee, and Ms. Hope, it is my pleasure to be here today with good news. And the good news is that on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Dougherty County Library, I'm happy to welcome Ms. Gail Evans as our new director. I also want to thank Dr. Jim Hill, Dr. Brenda Hodges-Tiller, and Ms. Karen Liebert, who are our search committee, for the great work they did in finding our new director. Ms. Evans comes to us from Henry County in McDonough, Georgia, where she served as the Assistant Director of the Collections Department and as the Assistant Director of Public Services. She only has 29 years of library experience. And during that 29 years, she has served in every possible capacity. She worked herself up from a reference librarian to a head librarian to an assistant branch manager to a branch manager to an assistant director. So there was really only one place for her to go, and that was to the director job. And we are so glad to have her. Her credentials are impeccable. She earned, sometimes I say you received, but she earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in English from Emory and an MLS, which is the Masters of Library Science, from Clark Atlanta University. She has experience in everything that we need. Budget management, project management, West Town is coming up, customer service, community outreach, and a host of other areas vital to our successful operation. We're confident that Ms. Evans has the credentials, she has the experience, and she has the personality to support our mission, which is to strengthen our community by inspiring, encouraging, and supporting lifelong learning for all. As you know, we love the library. We love the library. And she loves the library. And 29 years of experience. I hope that, as you know, our former director that we loved also, she had 39 years. I hope that Ms. Evans will be here for the next 10 years. I hope you'll pass her. You know, that when you retire one day, you'll have 40 years of experience. But may I please introduce to you Ms. Gail Evans.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome.
I just wanted to take a moment just to say good morning.
Good morning.
And I appreciate this warm welcome. And I've received that since being here last week. I've met Mr. McCoy and several people from his office. And I appreciate the library board and their confidence in me to lead the library and to serve the citizens of Dougherty County. And I look forward to working with all of you. And maybe soon we'll, be able to do a one-on-one and get to know each other better. But thank you so much.
Thank you and welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
May we be excused, sir?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Get back to work, Walter. All right. Next, we have Fire Chief EMA Director Cedric Scott present to announce that Dougherty County has received the Storm Ready Community designation. Morning, Chief. Good to see you as always.
It's indeed a great honor to stand before you today. Have the team with me as usual. You know that I often say one person does not do all the great work that you see in our organization. I'm joined today by, of course, our Deputy Fire Chief and Deputy EMA Director Stephen Burns. Lauren McGrath is back with us. She's our emergency management specialist. Worked real hard on getting this done. And of course, Reuben Jordan standing and holding the sign there, Storm Ready, Assistant Chief, and as many of you know, spent a lot of time working in emergency management. So to talk about this today, this is an exciting day for me, for our team, and for this community. The Storm Ready uses a grassroots approach to help communities develop plans to handle all types of extreme weather, from tornadoes to winter storms. The program encourages communities to take a new, proactive approach to improving local hazardous weather operations by providing emergency managers with clear-cut guidelines on how to improve their hazardous weather operations. Some of the things that a community must do in order to qualify: you have to establish a 24-hour warning point and emergency operations center, have more than one way to receive severe weather warnings and forecasts and to alert the public, create a system that monitors weather conditions locally, promote the importance of public readiness through community seminars, and develop a formal hazardous weather plan, which includes training severe weather spotters and holding emergency exercises. The Storm Ready designation from the National Weather Service demonstrates Dougherty County's strong commitment to implement the infrastructure and systems needed to save lives and protect property when hazardous weather and flooding strikes. 98% of all presidentially declared disasters are weather-related, leading to around 500 deaths per year and $15 billion in damage. The Storm Ready program helps arm Dougherty County with the communication and safety skills needed to save lives and property before, during, and after the event. Not every community receives the Storm Ready designation, I may add. As of June 24, 2021, there were 3,041 Storm Ready sites in the 50 states, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Pacific Islands. The designation lasts for 3 years from the date of the official recognition letter, and we are scheduled to be redesignated on December 8, 2023. We have received a Storm Ready sign, which you see, from the National Weather Service. This will be placed outside of the Albany Fire Department headquarters entrance, and additional signs will be placed throughout the community. We have established a storm-ready page on our website, and we have a link that people can just tap on the main page to get more information on the storm readiness of our community. But isn't that very exciting
Chief,
to get this designation?
I'm so thrilled to see this, and I tell people that we have the best emergency management agency in the entire state of Georgia, bar none.
Yes.
Certainly the most tested and experienced as well.
Yes.
And I'm very happy to see that. And I do recognize that not all communities get that designation, and I'm glad to see that we're stretching our legs a little bit, and every now and then we need to pat ourselves on the back. And I darn sure would like to know if there's some sort of recognition that our emergency management agency could be nominated for, because I'd like to see, I mean, there's no other county in the state of Georgia that I know that's been through what we've been through since 2017. Yeah. But I'm very happy to see this, and I'll also say it's been an interesting ride for me, watching our sophistication since 2017 get a lot better. And I appreciate your leadership and appreciate your hard work, not only in the face of weather-related events and the people that work with you, but also your leadership with the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know that everyone appreciates and understands that is our response to COVID-19 has been led by the Emergency Management Agency. And there's one thing about emergencies is you never know what type you're going to get. Right. I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, when we go to class, and mainly in Forsyth and in Atlanta for emergency management training, some of the examples that are used in the classes that we're in are examples of Albany and Dougherty County. The things that people study about in those classes and in those textbooks, we actually do those things in Dougherty County. For us, what you're reading is the way that we operate, and we have an opportunity to do that. And we're very fortunate to have the support of the commission, and we appreciate your support, that of our county administrator, who I just cannot say enough about answering the call no matter when, and just his reliable, steady leadership, and has helped us tremendously as we've tried to deal with these very serious issues that we've had to deal with. I hate to put I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity while I'm here to make you aware, make our citizens aware. You'll be hearing more about this today. Due to the rising COVID-19 numbers, the Emergency Operations Center will be activated at noon today. We will begin to take calls again from the community. 302-1900 is our EOC line. You'll be hearing more about that. We will begin, as the chairman and I were actually talking this weekend, we will begin our task force COVID-19 calls will resume. And also our press conferences on Friday will resume. Everything will continue now on a weekly basis now to address this, as many people are calling, a fourth wave, this pandemic that has affected the lives of so many. But we will be reactivating today to begin to try to address that the best way that we possibly can. So, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you all for allowing us this time today.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right. Next, we will hear from the County PIO, Wendy Howell, present to discuss the proposed citizen engagement dashboard.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So this is in response to a strategic goal from our January retreat to engage citizen feedback. So I have with me today members of our TAC team, Roderick Smith and John Dawson, and they're going to take you guys through a demo of the system we're proposing.
Good morning, Chairman, County Administrator, Commissioners. Just want to say a few comments before we go into our presentation. This Smart Cities initiative was spearheaded by Mr. Carter, our previous CIO and now interim city manager of the city of Albany. He worked closely in conjunction with the Emerging Technologies team. That's a team of city and county employees who have been working on what we call a data visualization initiative. I would also like to add that Albany was selected as one of the 4 winning cities of the 2018 Georgia Smart Cities Community Challenge for its data visualization initiative. We currently have 4 initiatives ongoing right now. Those are food insecurity, crime data analytics, housing data analytics, as well as the Dougherty County Tax Initiative. Also on this GeoHub, we do have the ability to report and display flood zones as well as growing population centers. Now I want to turn it over to Roderick Smith. He is an integral member of our Emerging Technologies team and a member of the Applications Division of the Technology and Communications Department for a short presentation.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so what I'm gonna bring to you guys today is what we call Esri ArcGIS. So what this is a set of different tools that we can use to collect data, visualize data, and also share it out with the public or with yourselves. So the first tool I'm gonna show you is this is the ArcGIS Hub. So what you're looking at now is the tax hub page. This was done with information from our tax database. It connects directly to it. It updates automatically. This hub page can be used to display different graphics, also house forms, mapping applications that I'll show you later, and different things like that. So this is the tool ArcGIS Survey 123 that we can use to collect that information. So this is very similar to a SurveyMonkey type of application. We can collect different questions, and that information automatically goes back to our online database in this house for us. It can be used on mobile, desktop, doesn't matter. It formats automatically. Anybody can use it. They are very, very quick to launch. We can probably have set up and going in 30 minutes or less. They are highly configurable. You can do required questions. You can do Likert type questions or grading systems, anything like that you can think of we can do. They are also have the ability to be anonymous, so that way you don't have to worry about citizens worrying about giving their information and they don't want to. We get immediate feedback from this information as well, so as soon as they hit submit, it's in your hands basically. And also it can be combined with our current GIS system, which you know is very extensive, so all of our road layers, our parcel layers, we can combine this information with that to kind of give you more information as needed. So this is an example of what the actual survey results look like. So as you can see on the left-hand side, you've got your questions, and then on the right-hand side, you can see your actual answers, and they can be shown in bar graph, circle graph, or anything like that. These, like I said, these results are available immediately as soon as they hit submit. This updates automatically. This is an example of a web application that we use for the tax department. As you can see, when you click on a parcel, you get the information about it on the right-hand side, so it's a quick way to kind of look up and see any tax information you need about a property. We can do different types of applications, so we can do, let's say I want to know what's the closest park to my house. I can click on my house and we can have like a radius pop up and show you the different amenities and everything that are in like a 1 mile or a 5 mile radius. So these are actually very, very useful applications. Also, what you're looking at now is an example of a dashboard. So we can collect that information, we can do different types of calculations on it, and we can give you guys an actual dashboard so you can look and see a high-level overview of the whatever the questions are about that survey or whatever information you're trying to collect. These can also be set to use the geographic location, such as your district, so that you can see information just about your area or neighborhood or whatever information you're trying to, however you want to service it. These are actually interactive, so you can actually click on different things, scale them out in and out, and you can see you can click on the dots and actually get the information for an individual survey or request or whatever it is. And at this point in time, we'll open it up for questions.
All right, any comments or questions?
I did have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson?
So Ms. Howe, like, the questions that you would put in the dashboard would be like, give me an example of the surveys.
So I would look for you guys to let me know, give me feedback on what type of questions you want.
Okay.
It could be consensus of all of you on general questions, or you may have specific questions.
So is this gonna open it up like a 311 kind of thing, so people can report issues, is it blight, if it's
Yes.
street lights out, potholes?
That information is all actually from the 311 system.
Okay.
It's all
so-
integrated.
Okay, so I'll be integrated together.
Right.
And where would it be located? On our website? Or is it an app that can be downloaded?
It's all web-based, so yes, we can provide you a link that you can actually post on your website so that people can click on it and go to it.
It's good stuff, really good stuff.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes.
Question,
Commissioner-
please.
Yes, Commissioner Gaines?
Yes, one of the things I think any organization, company, business is does quite often is opinion surveys or customer satisfaction surveys. And those can be constructed. Of course, it may not be a scientific study because you'd have to set that up quite differently than you would an internet-based survey. But at least it would be some feedback on how happy our citizens are with the services that we provide. And it would be great to, in my opinion, to try to construct a citizen satisfaction survey with the services that the county provides. Ms. Howell,
Yes.
any reaction to that?
Yes, ma'am. We can customize, as I said with Commissioner Johnson, we can customize it any way you would like. So I would look to you all for individual feedback on your districts, if you have specific questions you want to ask, or there may be a general dashboard of questions maybe we start with, and then we go from there.
Right.
But beyond questions, there's also the ability to report things as well.
Right. And I believe we can choose those reports, whether we do monthly, quarterly.
Yes, we can actually have them scheduled to go out and at any kind of interval you want to get them and things like that. The dashboards themselves and the web tools, they will update immediately. So there would be necessarily not a refresh period, but you just, whenever you click on it, that data is going to be, from the moment you click on this, that's the moment. And we also add that this is actually a product we already have, so there is no need to go out and purchase anything. This is something we already have in our toolbox.
So who responds to the information? Depends on what department it goes to and how fast.
It depends on what department it goes to. So each department kind of has their own, like for tax department, they have microcredit that answers a lot of their stuff, so it just depends. Engineering has a dedicated team of 2 GIS personnel, so those two kind of handle a bulk of it.
So how will code enforcement, like, will they check the dashboard? Will things be directed directly to code enforcement too?
We could give it the access directly to code enforcement so they can go in and actually do their own stuff.
I mean, I know it's early in its creation, but it's a really, really good concept. That we just gonna, I guess, build on it.
Yes, sir.
Good work.
Very good.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just to further explain what I'm talking about
Yes, ma'am.
with a citizen satisfaction survey. I mean, we believe that we have really good recreation. We have really good services and facilities. I mean, you ask feedback. You can ask how satisfied are they with Robert Frost? You know, what else would they like to see, or something like that. How satisfied are they with our pavement program, alley pavement program? How do they like Raging Springs? That sort of stuff. And then, of course, what else would you like to see? That kind of thing. But I mean, there's a way to do something that people who do those services are fully aware of. So I would just like to see us take a stand at constructing something just to get an overall feedback on how satisfied our citizens are.
Very good. Good point. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Gaines. Thank you for the presentation. Very good information.
Chairman.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I
Commissioner
just
McCoy.
wanted to provide context. This is the satisfaction of a retreat goal that was brought forward by Commissioner Gaines. And so we're responding to the will of the board from the retreat.
Okay. All right, very good, excellent. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next delegation. Mr. Wright, did you have another presentation?
We do.
It's in the package.
But this is on a different topic than the tax digest, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, as a point of disclosure, we're going to leave after this. Not because you're not paying us, but we have other things to do. And we realize you do, so if we could, we'd like to start with file 2 from, that you already should have. You should have file 1 and file 2. This sheet will answer the questions that Commissioner Gaines gave, I believe, on July 12th to look at. We've already looked at the 9 metropolitan areas in the state of Georgia and compared them with Dougherty County. So what this sheet does, it gives you something to think about, and as Commissioner Edwards and others told me, so well, William, you need to tell us what we need to be doing. Well, I'm telling you what you need to be doing this time. File 2, if we can look at that, where it points out that what the analysis actually is. And on file 2, and by the way this reads, file 1 just gives you the information about Dougherty County. We looked at your revenue, the expenses, the general fund, special services fund, compared those to Chatham County. And if we could go to page 2 is where the information really began. And right there, that shows no millage increase. Now, this is Chatham County. And Commissioner Gray brought up a couple of weeks ago that, well, and the newspaper showed that they were increasing tax, so that's semantics, I believe. Now, whether or not they were going to do the same thing, now this paper showed no mill increase. When we pulled it, it was no millage increase, but you need to understand they're at 11 mills and you're at 15. So that's about a 40% difference. That's the first thing. Now, the sheet that you just have point out on each page what the difference is when you look at Dougherty County and file 1. So you can go to anything in file 1 from Dougherty County, compare what's on this page, it encapsulates the information, save you time, and save us time, so you'll better analyze why we are so far behind, financially and otherwise. Now, go to the next page, please. This right here is the general fund from Chatham County. You'll notice Chatham County general fund budget is about 300% greater than ours. Well, they got 200,000 people more. That may be one reason. But their general fund budget is $209 million. So that's about 3 times Dougherty County. That's the general fund now. Their special service fund is $44 million. Again, that's 500% higher than our special services fund. You look on the handout you have, it shows you what these problems are and what Dougherty County needs to be doing. So I'm going to go to the handout now and deal with that data. On page 1, you see page 2 shows, let's go to page 3, and that's where we are. And the 8.8 million for Dougherty County compared with Chatham County, $44 million. 500%
Mr. Wright, pardon me for a second.
Okay, yes, sir.
We had the public hearing on the budget, and then when you signed up to speak, you spoke at the public hearing, which we listened to you. Then you also signed up to speak as a delegation, and the information that you gave the county clerk was that you're present to continue discussion of building capacity, programs for small businesses, and other concerns. And then when you came to speak, I asked you, are you speaking about something other than the budget? And I assumed it was what you told the county clerk. But it sounds like what you're talking about is about the budget. Now, did I miss something? I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm just asking, because it sounds a lot like you're talking about the budget again.
Well, I not see it that way, you know, just,
Well, how do you see it?
well, the budget, this is a comparison of the budgets of one county versus another. That's fundamentally different. In other words, we're looking at Dougherty County from the revenue side, from the expenditure side, from the special service side, compared with Chatham County. That's what this does.
Oh, I fully follow that, and that actually demonstrates my point, which is that was a discussion that was appropriate for the public hearing, and you spoke for a long time at the public hearing about your concerns about the budget. And what I'm saying is, you sign up as a delegation, that's not, the public hearing is closed on the budget. So if you want to talk to us about building capacity, programs for small businesses, and other concerns, that's fine, but we have a specific legal process to have a public hearing at a specific time on the budget. So if I let you come up here and talk about the budget more than one time, then I'm giving your voice greater weight than any other citizen that wants to talk about the budget. And that's not fair.
Well, it's not true though, because
What part's not true? What
Well,
did I say that was not true?
okay, let me explain it to you. It'll take a minute or so to do that, but according to the information that we've already provided for you, Dougherty County has basically 94,000 citizens. They all had the same right and opportunity to come down here and present, and they chose not to. I'm not in control of what other people do. I can only control what Conceitco and the Framtech and a few other organizations.
I agree with everything you just said, except for this. You get a chance to talk one time on the budget. You did that.
No, that was on the increase, not the budget. That was on the proposed millage increase, the tax increase. That's what the documents they had in the paper now. We
Okay,
can
well,
play some minutes all
perhaps
you
I
want.
view them as interrelated. All right, go ahead, Mr. Wright.
Well, no, see what you do is when you do that, you stop my train of thought. And that messes me up being in classroom 35 years and you hear mess on both
You're pretty good
sides.
on your feet, Mr. Wright.
Well, no, if you don't want to hear it, you do not want to hear it. I'll come back this afternoon, and again, when I come this afternoon, I will make sure you understand this now. It's going to be on the difference between Chatham County and Dougherty County, what Commissioner Gaines gave me the curveball to do. We've done that, we've sent it to you, and now you're saying you do not want to hear it. Every person in Dougherty County had the same right as a Framtech and Conceitco to come down here. And then I get up here, it's some BS. That's not right.
I'm sorry, what was that last part, Mr. Wright?
Forget it.
Okay, all right. Have a good day, Mr. Wright. All right, any other delegations that did not previously sign up that wish to be heard at this time? Okay. All right, let's move on to zoning. Rupesh Rajkaran and Gupta Priyanka and et al., owner and Terramore Development, LLC, applicant requests to rezone 1.909 acres from C7 Mixed-Use Planned Development District to C2 General Mixed-Use Business District. The property is located at the southeast corner of Gillionville and Lockett Station. The Planning Commission recommends approval. Paul Forgy, Planning and Development Services Director, and Angel Gray, Planning Manager, will address. The public hearing and action are scheduled for August 16, 2021. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Angel Graham, the Planning Manager, and the hearing was August the 5th, the Planning Commission hearing and meeting, and the Planning Commission voted to approve the request to rezone 1.90 acres from C7, which is a mixed-use plan development, to C2 General Mixed-Use Business. This property is located on the southeast corner of Gillionville and Lockett Station, and the planned use is for commercial development. Any
Okay.
questions?
Any comments, questions, or discussion?
I did not hear that last point. The plan is for what?
For commercial development.
For commercial. Do we know the specific development?
Yes, they propose to build a Dollar General.
A Dollar General?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is across from the Family Dollar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Johnson?
She answered, my question was answered.
Gotcha. Very good. Anything else?
Yeah.
Commissioner Gray?
Yeah, I want to back up to one of our retreat items we talked about. I shared information with everyone around some of the data that's been collected that other communities are using to slow down or more appropriately distribute these dollar stores in their communities. Because you look at the economic impact of a store like this, and of course the developer says it'll generate $800,000 in sales tax revenue a year, or 80,000, excuse me. It'll only create 8 to 10 new full-time jobs. But you look at the fiscal impact, and the data that I shared with my fellow board members shows that when dollar stores do come in, they tend to be predatory. They tend to find areas with high density of low socioeconomic populations that's easily accessible to them. I'm not arguing making access to food more readily available and easier for any population. But when you look at the big picture, they tend to downgrade the viability of your grocery stores in the area. You've got Walmart Family Market down at Gillionville and Westover. You've got Mike's Country Store on Gillionville. The greater impact could be that those stores begin to suffer in their low margin business because of the lack of traffic for their dry goods that are being kind of poached by the Dollar Generals, and we have a Family Dollar right across the street here. We discussed at our board retreat around a moratorium on dollar stores until we could really wrap our head around what the right policy is for these. Do we have to lump them all together? We can't say this brand versus that brand, but just the type of store and the business model does more harm than it does good in many communities. I think that we get into a kind of Eckerd's and Rite Aid situation where every opposite corner is consumed by one or the other. Home Depot and Lowe's right across the street from one another. As we saw with the drugstore battles, now you've got 2 vacant properties on opposite corners of high traffic areas. I just don't see a sustainability for $2 stores at the same intersection. And I'm not really a fan of the overall impact, the ripple effect of more dollar stores in our community. I think it disincents grocery stores to come into our area and provide more jobs, more tax revenue, and better quality selection of foods that are both healthier and more sustainable, and give people exposure to better food choices. So while this is a zoning issue, it is appropriate. I would feel that a commercial business has the right to to apply for and be approved for this. But I think based on the nature of what's coming there, we should really weigh the consequences of what approval means in this case, and really talk internally about whether or not we want to support this type of development, both predatory and long-term development of our food sources and access points, especially in more rural settings outside the city, where you don't have a convenience store on every corner in a grocery market right down the street. So, I mean, I open it up for discussion around your thoughts on whether we need to revisit this, whether we need to look at a a policy or, special approval if it's going to be a dollar type store. I would even move that we table this request until, we get a sense as a board where we want to go.
All right. Any thoughts on Commissioner Gaines? Commissioner Gaines?
Yes, please. Just want to follow up on what Commissioner Gray said. While they do relate to each other, they are two decisions. I certainly would like to see us pursue the idea of moratorium. However, on the issue before us, which is the rezoning, certainly take into, and we are required to take into consideration whether or not this suitable change that would allow that to happen. And if we find that it is not suitable, that it has delicate effect on our neighborhood surrounding it, then we can make that decision on its merit. And it can go forward based on whether or not we think this change is good for that it will serve. I don't know whether that makes sense.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner Gaines.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Jones.
I concur with Commissioner Gray on these things. I hear we talk about the economic impact, and but what about the quality of life of the folks who are going to those places? I mean, we've already understood and we've already know that most of the food that they have in there, processed food, all these kind of things lead to diabetes. All these things kind of lead to hypertension. And a lot of folks, they use those things because of the fact, they use those stores because of the fact that the only thing that they can do, this is a place where they can walk to. And certainly I don't think we need to have Dollar Generals on every corner, just like trees. I think we need to look at a moratorium on these dollar stores, because everywhere we look, we got a dollar store here. If it's not a dollar store, it's a general dollar. I don't know what's the difference in them, but I do know that for the people who are using them, they're not the ones who are benefiting. They're driving up the health care costs because of the fact that they're getting sick. They don't understand why they're getting sick. Some of them don't, but they just feel like this is a quick fix for them to get what they need because this is the easiest thing to get to. I think we need to look at this one real hard and look at a moratorium on these things. Okay.
Yes, but I think those are two, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind. Those are two kind of separate decisions. We can decide on this particular site, and then we can parallel to that, or in tandem or afterwards deal with, because the moratorium issue is a little bit more complex, I believe. But this one is a decision we can make as a part of the zoning process, and we can do it within the time frame of the zoning process.
I agree with Commissioner Gaines. And did anybody else have any thoughts or comments?
Well, I agree with what you're about to say. I mean, when I say that I think we have too many, and I guess what making me think about our site on 19 where the service station gone, where we tearing down. So I definitely don't want one there. But I think with the process that we have on this particular situation, go forward, but then look forward and I guess asking McCoy and Paul Forger to get together and try to come up with some recommendation for the future references. Because we did bring that up, and I appreciate you, bringing that back to our remembrance. So Mr. Forger is right there also, Mr. Chairman, but
yeah,
I'll hear your comments.
Well, thank you. I have some mixed thoughts about this. I don't like seeing a bunch of Dollar Generals and Family Dollars. I'm not picking on that business at all because I don't think overall it's a great quality store. And I do agree with Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Gray. I think that for the most part they're predatory, and the way they make their decisions is they literally look at the economics and the census information and household income, and they find, it's not a real complicated process. They find where there's a pretty good traffic count, they find where there's a whole bunch of poor people.
That's it.
And that's really about as complicated as it is. But then secondarily, you have the other issue, which is where are your poor people going to get goods? Because it's not like there's a Whole Food Market or a Publix food market that's moving in to those neighborhoods, because they make decisions a bit differently than Family Dollar. They try to figure out where there's folks that have more money and where there's a good traffic count, they put their store there. Then I look at, okay, well, it's a Family Dollar, maybe it's not that great of a store, but they did put up some bricks, they did put up some mortar, they did, put up a $500,000 property, which sometimes these businesses get bought and repurposed. And so then I'm viewing that through the lens of, well, at least we have some bricks and mortar that are increasing our overall tax digest. I agree with Commissioner Gaines. I think this is a two-part analysis. One, I think we decide, on the merits whether or not this is a good application for Dougherty County or not. And then secondarily, we have a discussion that's more policy-oriented, centered around what Commissioner Gray is talking about, what Commissioner Gaines and everyone else is concerned about. And in that regard, I would like to have some information about whether or not there are other counties, other communities that have in fact passed, whether you call it a moratorium or some sort of zoning that makes it harder or eliminates to a certain extent the marketplace for these dollar stores. And you also have to be careful. You don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face, because it is a form of economic development. Though I will also say this, to Commissioner Jones's point, I agree with you. You can't buy fresh fruits and vegetables in there, but then we have a bunch of people that don't have access to food at all. And while it may be Cheetos and Dr. Peppers, it may be that that's better than nothing in some instances. And then you also say, well, what you can get in those stores is not very good. But I don't think that's going to change the marketplace, because the only way you change the marketplace for that is you change people's understanding. And you have to get people to understand that those foods are bad for them. So if they go to the Family Dollar, or if there is not a Family Dollar, folks are still going to go to the convenience store and buy those very same things, unfortunately, that aren't good for us and that perhaps taste good and also lead to diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, etc. I'm saying all that to say this: I do think it is a more complex analysis on the moratorium. I would like to know, and I would like for Mr. Forgy and Ms. Gray, Mr. McCoy, or anybody else that can get us some information on whether you call it a moratorium or some sort of limiting ordinance. I would just like to get some objective data and information about how those communities implemented it, and whether or not it was a net positive or net negative. And I'd like to have that discussed openly at a meeting, because I do think that there's some complicated things that we have to talk through. But I agree with everything that's been said, and I mean, to be honest with you, man, love for us to have a bunch of Whole Food Markets and Publixes and whatnot, but the reality is we got a bunch of poor people that live in this community, and we have to accept that we're a community of the haves and the have-nots, and a lot of the folks that live in poor neighborhoods don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and it's frustrating, it's angering, and one of the things that I've continued to push for are grocery stores on the east side, and made that very, very clear to our Payroll Development Authority, our Economic Development Commission, because there's one thing that y'all know this, it drives me nuts when people don't have access to fresh food. It bothers me very much. So if everyone is in consensus, what I'd like to do is get Mr. Forgy and Ms. Gray, if y'all would, we could have, Mr. McCoy, could we have them come back at a future work session, give them 2 weeks, 30 days, to get us some information about this policy issue. I do think we need to move forward with deciding on the merits of this Family Dollar request. We can decide that however we want to. Everybody can have their own individual reasons for why they vote whichever way. But I do think that Commissioner Gray's point is well taken. I think that Commissioner Gaines's point in bifurcating or splitting the decision-making on these two issues is a good idea. And I'd humbly suggest to this commission that's how we should move forward. Okay.
And one other thing to your comments, Mr. Chairman, where you know is that we are in a town of have and have-nots, and most of the folks have not, and I understand that. But then too, we say that what those dollar stores are better than nothing, but yeah, they're better than nothing, but next to nothing. So what we
I agree with that.
What we need to do is we need to draw a line in the sand so that we can make sure, because that still doesn't help the fact. A lot of times what's got to be done is you got to educate these folks who have not. And I know this is a $100,000 question, maybe not the place to discuss it, but if I don't use my platform to discuss it, then I don't need the platform. But certainly we need to look in this and push Farmer Fredo and all those folks who are out there. And we need to start looking in terms of what can we do as a commission from our folks to encourage trying to get those grocery stores like you were talking about in East Albany, because we can continue to sit here on this soapbox and talk and then nothing happen. I think Albany is the only town that I've been in that we do more talking about things than getting work done. For example, the trails, Columbus is still, they've been walking down trails for 30 years. I mean, and we still talking about trails. So sometimes we're gonna have to get off the stump, get in the game and get ready to play, and then start pushing to try to get the things that these folks that don't have need, because otherwise if we don't do it here at this table here, 20 years from now when my son or daughter decide to sit here in District 6, if that be the case, the folks are still going to be in the same situation that they are now. They still don't have, we still got this group of have and have not, so we got to do better.
Very good points. And thank you.
One final comment, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
this is in my district, but it borders on, I believe, Commissioner Newsom's district as well. And I would say this, while you're right, they do tend to, some of these stores do tend to locate in low-income communities. However, the community here is not a low-income community. It is a lower middle-income community, and even borders on a high-income community. So I would suggest that there may be other factors involved, such as race. And I would say to you that sometimes you just simply don't give people choices because you just don't think they deserve them. And in this case, I just don't see that you're really serving someone who have no choice. These people have choices because they can afford better. And I think we need to ensure that there's a possibility at least that they get better. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
One final comment.
Yes,
And just to your point, Chairman, having access to something is better than nothing in many cases. If this was the first store that sold food on those four corners, it would be a lot more palatable than.
I understand the individual
the
zoning
right
decision.
across the street.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, maybe seeing this on the other end of Lockett Station on Oak Ridge, that would make a lot more sense. A different population to serve from, to pull from, a different level of convenience at that end of Lockett Station or that end of Oak Ridge versus, I understand the highly traveled side of it. Commercial business needs to have the traffic, but, I don't know that two wrongs make a right in this case.
Yes, and my comments on that were more centralized on the policy discussion as opposed to whether or not this is an appropriate use of zoning.
It's really just urban planning and looking at, the spatial alignment of resources and what the needs are and putting the right resources in the right places. And I'm a big fan of economic development. I'm a big fan of new businesses coming to Albany, but you can have the right business in the wrong location, and it doesn't really reach its full potential for the benefit of the community and the taxpayers.
Understood. Very good points. All very good. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to the next.
May I comment on that quickly? I think you have bifurcated this real well into two parts. I will say that the commission does need to move forward, and I think you are planning to move forward on this issue alone and look at it based on the 6 criteria that were analyzed when the planning commission made their recommendation to you. You can't change horses in the middle of the stream, as you know, on this one. And any policy that you would put in effect that would affect this application would put you in jeopardy.
Understood. Very good point. Thank you, as always, for your counsel, Mr. Lee. All right, let's move forward with the next zoning applications. Southern Cypress LLC owner and Brenda Clark applicant requests to rezone 62.538 acres from Ag Agricultural District to RG Single Family Residential District County only. The property address is 512 Flowing Well Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval. Ms. Gray.
Yes, Chairman and Commission. This actually should read that the Planning Commission recommended approval of staff's recommendations for an RE estate district. After consulting with the applicant, the RE fits better with the rural community and character of the neighborhoods. The applicant wanted to subdivide the parcel into 3 20-acre lots for siblings and as heir property. And the RE fits that better because RE restricts subdivision to 10 or more acres. And so after that, we communicated, and presenting to the Planning Commission was that, and they recommended approval from AG Agriculture to RE Residential, Estate District.
So what you're saying is they want to put 3 houses on it?
They're wanting to subdivide for the potential of that, but it's only for heir property right now. There's 3.
So if it's residential estate, and I don't know that I've ever heard that term before, what does that mean? Like, what can you do?
Everything in an agricultural district, and of course, ag also allows for single-family dwellings to be built.
10 acres and you can have livestock.
That's right. It could be agricultural use.
You can have chickens and cows?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any comments, questions, or discussion on that? All right.
Yeah, you said it prevents a subdivision?
It would prevent because the RG would allow for 2 acres to be subdivided at a time, where the RE is at 10 acres or more.
I understand.
And they're wanting to do 20 acres, so the RE fits better to the character of the neighborhood.
But basically, 20-acre farms between.
So you can have a farm if you got 10 acres in the county.
Or more, yes, sir.
Or
Understood.
farm, that makes sense.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Grady Blair Stone owner and Metro Site LLC applicant requests special approval to construct a new telecommunications tower with a total overall height of facility 315 feet in the C3 Commercial District and C8 Commercial Recreation District. The property is approximately 20.82 acres, and the property address is 2700 Liberty Expressway. The Planning Commission recommends approval. Ms. Gray.
Yes, Chairman and Commission, this is a special approval request. The tower, it will be built in the C3 district, which was allowed. However, our ordinance provides for anything over 150 feet must come before special approval. And the reason for their tower height, as you all know, it's considered in a flood zone there at 2700 Liberty Expressway, so that adds 3 foot above the base flood level, and their radius for making sure that that dead spot is covered creates a tower height requirement. And so they came before the Planning Commission. We explained, showed our presentation, and they agreed. Your C8 is there because part of the 100 by 100 area fenced in, may encroach a C8, but the tower itself being built will not.
Okay, any comments, questions, or discussion? All right. Next, proposed text amendment to the Dougherty County Solar Ordinance, Title III, Article 1, Section 1.447, specific requirements for solar energy systems, A1. The Planning Commission recommends approval. Mr. Forey.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. The Planning Commission, we had a public hearing at the Planning Commission on the proposed amendments to the solar ordinance, and there were 3 recommended changes coming out of that. The first just being a clerical change. My title when the ordinance was developed was Director of Planning, Development Services, and Code Enforcement, so cutting off code enforcement since I no longer am over that department. Then the one that you forwarded this to the Planning Commission for was changing the allowance or the restriction of solar panels on street-facing facades. That has been recommended to be removed, so solar panels, provided that they're flush on the roof, can be put on front-facing facades. And the other change, which then would make the county's ordinance the same as the city's ordinance, is to add a line to the fencing requirements for solar facilities. Currently, you have to have an 8-foot chain link fence around a solar facility. The change would allow that, or a 6-foot chain link fence with 1 foot of barbed wire. And now that, the 6 feet plus 1 foot of barbed wire is allowed by the National Electric Code, and we felt that, you know, with the National Code dictating that for solar facilities, that it's reasonable to allow that. That's an option that some facilities choose, and it makes it easier if we just allow our ordinance to, or make our ordinance allow it from the beginning. And those are the only changes, if you have any questions.
All right, any questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Forey.
Thank you.
All right. Let's roll through these. Purchases, recommendation to accept the proposal for professional services of the survey and design of Fleming Road widening Phase 3 for the Public Works Department from the lowest quoted vendor, Reliable Engineering, LLC, out of Albany, Georgia, in the amount of $69,000. 2 vendors provided proposals, with the highest being $119,500. Funding is budgeted in T-SPOS road projects. Mr. Addison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. We recommend moving forward with this project. It was one of the potential projects in the intersection and road projects in our T-SPOS packet. This is the 3rd phase of Fleming Road. The first phase started at Mock Road and went just past the railroad tracks there. The second phase picked up where that left off and went to Gassert Road, and this will carry the widening all the way to county line. We recommend moving forward.
Understood. Comments, questions, or discussion?
That's going to be a great incentive to that area out there because of the fact that all these big trucks are coming in on the road here and tearing them up, and plus we got a lot of traffic coming in there. So with the widening of 133, I think you're right on time.
It's good for the Marine base too.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Recommendation to purchase 20 sirens for use by the Dougherty County Emergency Management Agency from Sirens for Cities out of Jonesboro, Georgia, in the amount of $519,892.40. 4 proposals were received, with Sirens for Class Inc. being recommended as the most responsive and responsible bidder. Funding is budgeted in the Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program, HMGP, for $750,000. Mr. McCoy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We recommend approval. As you heard previously from the chief and the EMA staff, that we were designated a storm-ready community. One of the criteria for that is to have more than one way to receive weather warnings. This is an expansion of our early warning system that currently is only in the city of Albany. This will expand out into the unincorporated area, a new service. This is about mitigation. This is taking long-term action to reduce or eliminate loss of life or property as a result of a hazardous event. And so we're very excited about this opportunity to have been awarded $750,000. The bid is $519,000. As you may recall, there's a non-federal cost share. The federal government is going to take going to cover 75% of this cost, and 5% the state and 20% locally, and that will leave us $103,000, which will come out of the Special Services District Fund. So again, we recommend approval.
All right.
And we have a list of the streets here, and I was having technical difficulties, so I'm going to forward you a map of these locations, but you do have street locations, the 20 street locations.
Understood. Any comments, questions, or discussion?
These are in addition to the sirens that are already in place throughout the city and county?
Well, there are none in the county.
Okay.
So this will give the county coverage now, the unincorporated area. Before, it was only the citizens within the city who benefited from being notified of severe weather events or any other hazardous event, and now folks in the unincorporated area will be covered.
Understood. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. McCoy, do you have anything else?
Yes, sir. I want to remind everybody that we have a public hearing to the tax digest millage rate hearing this afternoon at 6 p.m. And then again on Monday, August 16th at 10 a.m. In room 100.
Understood. Okay. Mr. Lee?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Gaines?
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioner Newsom?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Gray?
Nothing further, sir.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nothing further, sir.
Commissioner Jones?
Not a thing, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for asking.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Through a no-hitter.